Okay, it is November 14th. Well, let's try that again. It's November 14th, 2022. It's the Old Farm District November board meeting, and open to the public. We have 6 of our board members with us today. We also have our representative from Southeast Bend joining us, as well as City of Bend Councilor Melanie Keebler. Let's get started. This shouldn't be too long of a meeting today. We've just got a couple things we're going to cruise through. As we all know, the elections are sort of over. We'll find out about the rest of the country in another, 2 or 3 weeks. So to start the agenda first, Melanie, we'll let you go after the gas station update, just so you can hear about all of this. We are going to have Ross share his screen. The Old Farm District in Southeast Bend did a survey that went out on social media. It's been out for the last few weeks. Because of the survey and due to multiple requests, the Old Farm is going to be taking a position on it. So Ross, why don't you share the survey results, and if you could describe them to us.
Yeah, give me a minute.
Yeah.
In general, though, we did a group survey of all of and sent it out to everybody in Old Farm, as well as, we partnered with Jim and Sedna on this survey to get these numbers, and I'm bringing them up now. Let's see if I can't get this to present properly. Regardless, we had over 80% of the respondents indicate that they were against the gas station. About 12 to 15% that are actually for the gas station, and a few that are indifferent. And sharing.
And to clarify, the survey wasn't necessarily for or against a gas station. It was essentially for or against a conditional use permit for any drive-through type facilities at the location on the corner of Murphy and Broster House. It is going to be going to part of the City Planning Commission. They're going to be asking for a conditional use permit to give them the authority or the permission to have a gas station or drive-through. Just for people clarification. So this is not just for or against a gas station. Those are the numbers. Ross, why don't you
they should be presenting now at this point.
Yep, I can see them.
Go. And the number of respondents last I checked was 419.
490, 90?
419, 419.
Oh, right. Okay, thank you.
does anyone in the audience have any questions? I think Sarah joined us as well.
I'm smiling. Thank you very much. It's very exciting.
So
Yeah.
We took a board vote and it was unanimous. The board is going to take a position. We feel it's our duty to present what the people of this side of town want or don't want.
Wow.
So we have not penned it yet. We will, once we have it penned, Sarah will share it with you. I know Karen's also working on something as well. And for anybody else that's listening now or in the future, once again, this isn't necessarily against gas stations. This is a specific use on that intersection. There is a whole commercial area across from Caldera that in the future could easily have a gas station and would not require the conditional use permit.
Yeah.
So this is not picking and choosing. This is just an old location that fell through the gaps from the time of the last urban growth expansion and zoning. And then a bunch of things got moved. A park got moved, a high school got moved, a middle school got moved. So this is just sort of so that is the history of it. Does
Yeah.
anyone have any questions? Or Sarah, would you like to give a presentation on it, or?
You don't want to ask me that, but I will say, I just want to say, I know that this was a big ask to just ask the board to consider your perspective on this, and really appreciate all the work that went into really trying to get as much broad input on the survey as possible. and just really talking through this over a long number of months as to what we would need to get to the board so that you could discuss it and decide what you wanted to do. So we're really appreciative that you took that time to do this, and very grateful that you're willing to do that, especially with our hearing coming up on Friday. That's going to be a big boost for us, and we really appreciate you making the effort and taking the stand. So thank you. Yay.
Karen, you're on. Did you have anything else to add to this? We may have you pen the response from the board since you are the land use individual.
Sure. I'll draft something. It's going to be an interesting hearing. We've hired an attorney and our own traffic engineer who took apart their traffic engineer's report. It's going to be hotly contested. We're going to have a lot of people there to testify. I'm filing a brief tomorrow, and if they will for a gas station, I'm going to take them up to Luba because I'll be a party and I'll be able to do that. But I think with Sarah, we're going to have, how many people are going to personally show up with banners?
We have had 80 people RSVP to show up to our very peaceful neighborhood gathering on Friday for our pre-gathering so we can go into the hearing together. And we're really trying to organize ourselves to be ready to speak. And we've got our letters coming in and citing code and all of that. So it's been, no matter what happens, I can say this has been an incredible learning process for hundreds and hundreds of folks in Old Farm and Southeast Bend to understand the process a little bit better and know how we can engage with it. So we're excited about that, and just to be able to present a united front. And we're excited that we got the hearing. We got it upgraded to type 3, so we got the hearing, and just it's great to be able to get our input. And we have a lot of people who just, like 80 people sign up. It's not even a party. We might have coffee. I'm not sure yet. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, Councilor Keebler, you should be happy. It's 2 neighborhood associations doing everything we can to encourage civic engagement and learning about the proper way for city processes to work and function. So that being said, Melly, why don't we go into your update?
Sure, yeah. Well, since we're on this topic, I will just say for the record, I'm not commenting. I may have to make a decision on this. So, but obviously I'm taking this information in and I'll review everything that's in the record if it ever comes in front of me. So that's that. Yeah, so campaign came to an end. We have some new councilors elect. We have me coming in as mayor next year. We have Barb staying on. So that's what our council is going to look like next year with Anthony and Megan as well. And then we will have an appointment in January because I'm going to be vacating my council seat. There's 2 years left. So there will be an appointment process. We're going to try to get started on just getting ready for that now and like get everything so that as soon as I'm sworn in on January 4th, we're just ready to go and put out the application and get people applying. So that's the next big thing. And then after that, we'll be into our goal setting, which we ask all the NAs to weigh in on what kind of priorities and things you want to see in our next 2-year goal document, basically. So that's the biggest things coming up. We do have a council meeting this week. We are going to be talking about and having basically our first public hearing and first reading of the camping code that we've been working on. So if you've been following along, we're sort of getting to the end of that process. We've got a draft posted with our agenda. We'll be taking public comment and then discussing having a first vote on that. The only reason I could see that would be delayed is if there's movement on some changes to the code that takes staff time to rework and bring back to us next time. But I would like to move forward with just voting on that if we can at the meeting this week. So that's on the agenda as well as several other things. So I think that's all I got at the moment. I think I did try to update on the Wilson project. The 15th and Wilson roundabout was supposed to get started. It hasn't started yet, but that could be coming this month. And that will involve a significant detour on my daily route to my kids' school. And I think they want to make sure that they can open up the rest of it before they get going on that, so that there's a decent way to get around it to those businesses there. So that's coming pretty soon. That's a tricky roundabout because of the sort of downhill slope right next to it and the properties and the park and everything. So I think that should be happening pretty soon, should be started before the year's over.
Well, there's no restaurant to remove, so it should be a little easier.
We're not tearing down an old restaurant I remember from my childhood. No, not that I went in there as a kid, but I just remember that sign for a long time in Bend. It's gone now.
I was pleased
Anything
to
else,
see
fellas?
the eastbound Wilson open. That's big. That's great.
Anybody have any questions for Counselor Keebler?
Anne has her hand up.
Hey there, thanks. Not really a question. I just wanted to chime in that I spoke to one of the road crew today. And they said that they don't anticipate any closure at that new Wilson and 15th roundabout until about February, but they will start working on it prior to that.
Cool. That's great. Good.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, that was fast. Thank you, Melanie. Let's see here. Are there any big news other than what you described, the camping code? I mean, we've got 6 weeks of this council left. Is there like a huge intel moving into town, or moving out of town? Or is there anything that
No.
that we should know?
Oh, you know what? People might be interested. Let me pull up the agenda here. We have, let me see where was going to end up. I've been told, and I'm not sure where it is on the agenda. We had, yes, it's back. It's back on our agenda. This is the Gateway North Master Plan, which is where the Costco development that we had a hearing on. They've asked to come back and reopen the record and maybe show us a different plan. So that is on our agenda as well. I think probably the only thing that will happen is we have to decide if we want to open that back up and get back into it. And then if we do, whatever plan they have needs to go out for public comment before it comes back to us again. So, but just wanted to let people know, like, that's not done. That's ongoing.
And to fill people in, you're referring to the Costco parking lot discussion?
Right.
Or-
Yeah. The hearing that we had at our last meeting, and then there was a headline that was generated, and I've been told not to talk about it too much because we're not done deciding on it yet, but just wanted to flag it if anyone's interested in that. There will be a little bit of discussion about that at this meeting and probably at the next meeting after as well. So that's sort of ongoing. It's not like it's a done thing yet.
Okay. We were actually discussing Costco. What might happen to the old Costco? Would it make a good homeless shelter? Who knows?
Yes, we've had a lot of, I mean, that's a lot of people have been thinking about that, because just to be clear, the plan for them is to move it, not to have 2 in town, but to move it. So then that would be vacant. And it's sort of the problem with the big box stores. It's like, what can you use it for after that box store is gone, right? So is there a way to put it into something else that is going to make sense?
Indoor pickleball.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Hold-
let's see here.
Can I just hold up?
Yeah,
Hey,
Jen.
hey, Matt, congratulations, Melanie.
Oh, thanks.
It hasn't been said yet, but congrats.
Thanks. Thanks to everybody who voted.
Yes, voting is very important. I encourage every one of our listeners to participate in all elections. I encourage you to vote for your beliefs and your ideals, and please become informed before you vote. That's all I ask as a favor.
And I think before we move on, we should also shout out Karen, because she ran for office, and that is not a small thing. And I ran into Karen in my neighborhood, walking and knocking on doors and putting out flyers, and it was awesome. So thank you,
Yeah.
Karen, for stepping up.
Interesting experience.
Karen, that means you're still eligible to apply in January after Melanie gets sworn in for the open position. So
Indeed, I am.
Yeah, shout out. That's not easy work. So shout out to everybody that went on that campaign trail. Whew. It was a doozy. What was
I
the
just
voter
have to, on a personal note, I save all the flyers and everything I get from politics in the mail. And this year I broke a record, 2.5 pounds of mailed political stuff sent to my house.
Wow.
And as a neighborhood
much.
association, we send out these very nice, high quality postcards, which are nowhere near the quality level of what the political people send out. So I look at that, and every time I got a big one, I'm like, wow, this costs $1.75. This costs $2.
It's so glossy.
We're going to,
It's
we're
an
going to
eyeglass.
landfill on Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, can I ask, what was the voter turnout for Deschutes County, Melanie? Do you know?
I can't find my tab right now, but I don't think it was even 70%. It was under 70%, if I'm remembering right. I'll find it here and I'll link it. Oh, here we go. I found it.
All right, cool.
65%, and we think there's about 4,000 more ballots that are probably going to come in because they have to wait for all the mailed ones to come in. They're going to report that on Wednesday.
Okay.
So yeah, fairly low compared to the last midterm and much lower than the 2020 election.
But that's
Crazy.
still significantly higher than national voter turnout.
Oh
correct?
yeah, we're much better than the national average, but this was a lower one for us in the past few years.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you.
Well, Karen, you've already had the shout out. Would you like to do a quick land use update if there is any?
Yeah, yes. As far as I know, the only thing that's happened this month is that 2 applications have come in for 2 more whole house short-term rentals. And I sent them to Dirk to be published, but there's, as long as people conform to the code, there's no grounds to object to them, so they are going to happen. That's about it.
And for the audience, our technical person on our board is traveling across the country with his mother, enjoying the United States right now. So I do apologize about any delays. We will try to make sure that everything does end up on the website though. Yes, I believe one of those short-term rentals is 3 doors down from me. So, but I don't know if it might be just far enough for me to open one up in my backyard. So you never know. So we've got the city council update. Ross, quick neighborhood leadership alliance update.
Yeah, we met last week actually, so this lines up well. This meeting lines up well to it. The bulk of that discussion was around the home energy score program that the city is working on. That's where they're going to for anybody selling their home, they're going to be requiring that the home is assessed with a home energy score, and that is in an effort to try to drive home energy improvement or home efficiency improvements over the course of time. I encourage you to go check out the information on the city's website, and I just posted a link to it in the chat. Or you can also, of course, just Google Bend, Oregon Home Energy Score Program, and it'll pop right up as well.
I know, Melanie, our board had a very interesting discussion about that. I'm sure the rest of the citizens of Bend are as well. When is the public comment period or public?
I think our
discussion on
first is, sorry, Ross, is it first meeting in December? Is that when that's coming to public hearing?
Yeah, I think.
December 7th.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, so that'll be the time to enter comments in the record and do all that. And it'll be one of those where the agenda item will we'll have all those commenters come to that agenda item.
Okay. And so is that it for the NLA, Ross?
Yeah, that was the bulk of it. So that should do.
All righty. So we've got the board on, and I'm just going to ask the audience. The board is wondering whether or not we should have a meeting in December. We're not required to meet every month. This neighborhood association, we try to do these public meetings online, and we're eventually going to start meeting in person again. So I would love if the few people in the audience would like to have a meeting in December, if they could give us their thoughts or not. We will do whatever the people want. I see no hands. Does anybody see any hands?
Nope.
All righty.
Might just mention that would be December 12th.
Okay, Emilio, you've got one upvote. And I am a believer in democracy. So Amelia, how about this? If you have any questions, definitely reach out to the board. There's going to be some weirdness going on just due to the transition with the new city council. But the city and there's a lot of city committees that are going to be starting up and changing positions and things in the next couple months. We'll try to keep you appraised at that. Other than that, I think we will not be having a December meeting, and that will make Jennifer very happy. Does anybody else on the board have anything to add to this conversation today?
I
Like to
would,
clarify that I would like to avoid December, but I'm also not opposed to it. I will join if necessary for the clarification. Thank you.
Brian?
I was just gonna add that, in the coming year, we'll be asking for feedback about how to go about the roadside cleanup as part of the Bend beautification program. Obviously, everything out there now is pretty much frozen in place for a while, so we will pick it up, but whether we want to do it monthly, every other month, et cetera, or if there are particular areas that people would like to focus on. Just trying to improve the program, make it more efficient, get more engagement. So we'll be looking for that feedback probably about the time of our annual meeting. So hopefully people will have some thoughts on that.
Brian, would you like to tell the listeners what you and I are going to be trying to do on Wednesday?
Yeah, we're going to the dump, so James can get rid of all of his political placards. But at the same time, while we're there, we're going to meet with the director of the Deschutes County Solid Waste to try to initiate a conversation around ideas and initiatives, et cetera, to limit the volume and frequency of really dangerous waste that's on our streets that basically lands there from people who are headed to the landfill and it doesn't get there. Outside of our Bend beautification program, which we have picked up all kinds of crazy stuff as part of that program, I know many of our residents who walk and otherwise use our sidewalks and neighborhood streets pick up a lot of trash. And I'm not talking about cans and bottles, I'm talking about beds. I recently picked up several large studs with really significant nails sticking out of them that are a threat to my child, your child, and every driver, a pedestrian, dog. It just feels very unnecessary to me. So we're going to just have a chat about what possibilities might exist in the remaining life of the Knott landfill to see if we can't spur a little bit more positive adherence to what they've tried to do with more or less voluntary covering of the loads and whatnot. So more to follow after we get some feedback from them. So
Yes, as Brian has been responsible for this cleanup for the last year, and he always knew there was things getting basically dropped off vehicles, but the old farm district is literally the last stop on the way to the landfill. So every garbage truck and every contractor and every utility trailer basically drives through our neighborhood.
Every bump or swale on the road causes stuff to come flying out of the back of even loads that are covered. So it's just a conversation to see what we can do to limit the hazards that we have to face on a pretty much daily basis.
Let's see here. Any other board members with any updates? Commentary? Jennifer, how is social media going?
Great. No, actually, it's not that bad. A lot of engagement on our survey post, like a lot of engagement. It was a boosted post, but some questions, some nonsense, but for the most part, really good.
Hey, Jen, how much did that boost? How much do we have to invest in that boosting of the post?
50.
And did we just boost it once or multiple times?
Yeah, but I mean, if we're running, I boosted it once for like, but by the time it finally got approved, it was up for 4 days. So, I mean, if we have an opportunity to boost it again, I can do that tonight because we're wanting to keep the survey up for a couple more days, right?
Jen, could you explain to the crowd what you mean by boosting for the people that are unfamiliar with social media?
Yeah, on Facebook, you can boost a post and you pay a little bit of money and it sends it out into the world. I think something to do with the algorithms. So you get more traffic to that particular post.
When it sends it out, is it focused on a particular group?
Yeah, so I have it, you can choose a radius for how far you want the post to go. And I pretty much selected the radius of Old Farm and Setna.
Hmm.
I thought it did pretty good. We got over 1,000 people that engaged with the post, or saw it, and like 16 plus comments on it, which is pretty good. So if we want to boost it again, I can hop on after this and boost it once more for the next couple of days.
And
Thoughts,
for the
feelings?
audience, the board has been talking about trying to do maybe like a survey once every 2 months for issues or concerns of the people in our area. If anyone has any ideas or would like us to possibly reach out to the people, we're not advocates for or against anything. We are going to be working with city committees and Parks and Rec and the school district whenever they have, things to get out as well. But a lot of times people don't know what's going on or want to know what's going on, or, so we do encourage, if people would like to know something, please reach out to us. In the past, we had asked about the traffic speed zones. Somebody wanted to know the status on that. We took all of those results and submitted them to the city. And then we are now in the queue for when the city will put one of the mobile speed trailer items, just for people to know. So that's
And that program only runs, sorry to interrupt, James, but that program for the speed radar signs just operates from May through October, I believe. And so we're certainly targeting that for next spring.
James, since we're got a little bit of time here, I think it's worth just sharing with people that, at least me, I personally think, and I've heard Mayor-elect Keebler speak to the value of the feedback that the NAs can provide to the city in their direction, their thinking. And I'm a really strong proponent of trying to increase our engagement with our residents. So if you appreciate the responses that we got from the gas station question, which tends to get people interested, it's also, I think, appropriate to share within your neighborhoods, within your friend groups and whatnot, to try to get them to engage with us, sign up for the newsletter, be aware of what's going on, because then, any future surveys will have hopefully more people responding, and the more people that respond with what they actually want provides more meaningful feedback to the folks who actually are going to make these decisions, our elected officials and others. So I think each of us can do our part within our neighborhood just to encourage folks to participate, because their voice, we very much want that voice. And if they want their voice heard, that's what we're here for.
Sarah?
I think that is such a great point. And as you were talking, what was coming to my mind is one thing that might help is to give them feedback, because we're the only ones that can see the results. I'm wondering if you want to do something around like publishing the results back to people and telling them, like, the next step is if they want to share their opinion, they can show up at the hearing and share their opinion, whatever that is, and where it is and when it is, so everyone knows. Something like some sort of feedback loop on that.
I think the information around any issue needs to be thorough, including, any potential follow-up steps. Our prior conversations, one point that I was trying to strive to make was that surveys don't always have to be contentious issues. I personally would like to see people helping shape the future. What do you want to see? What would you like to not see? The time to make decisions is well before the things actually happen. So we're going to have a lot of development in the Southeast in coming years. So a lot of decisions and planning is being done now. And it's a really good time if we find that there are issues that people want to speak up about, and there is a strong consensus. I think that's a very viable and useful purpose for the NA. So the more voices, the better. So getting people engaged is going to make the whole program work better.
Yeah, it's interesting. The gas station is actually, I would put it in like the not contentious category at that 84% range or whatever it's at. It's great to see that even after kind of the wide distribution, it's consistent number. And my only thought was just like, hey, you gave us something, you gave us your opinion, and we have all their email addresses. If we want to email the results back to them so they can see it or something like that. So it's a hook to get them to tell us again next time what they think. That was what I was thinking, but no problem if it's not the right time for that.
Well, I think and I should let James speak to this, but the board voted unanimously to take a position against this development. And as such, Karen is going to write the draft on that position, which would go out and also be posted on our website, which would include information about, next steps and what does that mean. So yeah, we need to complete the circle. I don't think we discussed or necessarily are going to email the respondents back, but I think we'll provide the general consensus and the outcome of the feedback that
Yes,
people did
and
provide.
to clarify, we will always put the results to the surveys on our website as we start to do this more. And then to clarify once again, we're not against the development of the Murphy corner. We're opposed to the conditional use permit for the drive-through businesses. That is a very technical but important difference. The southeast side of town wants little commercial hubs. They just don't want to increase lots of traffic right by an elementary school in a already developed quiet neighborhood. So I just have to reiterate that. I have nothing else to add to this meeting. Brian, you're making fun of me and smiling, so you're welcome to add any more if you want.
I would just like to hear one more disclaimer, James, because I think that would cap it all off.
Hey, disclaimers. None of us have signed an NDA. So, yeah, I have nothing else to add to this meeting. If any of the audience would like to ask a question or propose something for us to address in the future, now is the time to do it.
There was a question in the chat from Ann regarding the former Crown Villa Resort, now renamed Sun Countries. Was this a change of ownership? Are these folks still contending to create another RV resort off Murphy west of 97? Do we know anything about that?
Karen might.
Well, I think I followed the debate, which was ferocious. They went before a hearings officer because this project apparently is against the Murphy Road plan that was created some years ago. I've not heard anything else since, one way or another. But I'll find out though. I'll contact the neighborhood association there and see if they've heard anything, and get back to you.
Thank you.
And I have a question for either Karen or Melanie. Do we know the status on that Central Oregon Irrigation District land concern over off of Brookswood?
I think they're doing a lot division, and that's the most recent process is subdividing the lot. I don't know, Karen, maybe you know.
I think they've asked for a boundary change, and I take a look at the map, and it's just kind of complicated, but it follows the creek, which is part of the COID right away. But you've got a huge neighborhood association that is, trying, for example, to get that made into a park, but that would cost millions. The people following it very closely, but so far it's just a boundary change that I think is been requested.
Okay, if that is the case, no one else has anything else to add.
I do have one question, if I may.
Sure, Jim.
Last year, we started having joint board meetings, first Wednesday of the month. Now, we haven't done one for a while, but I just wanted to get your sense of, are we, it'd be nice to resume when we have the opportunity to do so. Anyways, we're just kind of wondering.
I'll let the board openly chat about that.
I'm cool. I'm for it. I think it would be okay to possibly look at January to resume that and see what it would entail.
Yeah, let's
Yes.
take it offline and start a discussion. Jim, if you could send out an email to everybody that used to attend those, which are basically, I think, both boards. There's probably, I think you have 1 or 2 more board members now. I think we can probably work it out offline and figure it out from there, if that's okay.
Okay, I can certainly do that. And if I don't have everybody on your board's email, I'll just send it to Jen and she can forward it. Would that be okay?
Yep.
Okay, will do.
And then while I got the floor, just one other quick note I want to say, kind of a to the public, please reach out to and help your neighbors where necessary, especially those that are in need of a bit of help as the snow falls around us and around you and your neighborhood.
And if anybody does need assistance, you can reach out to us. There are a bunch of different groups that do help people, and we may be able to get you some assistance from people that we do know. Whether it's food assistance or getting your driveway shoveled if you're a senior citizen or something like that. If that is the case, Ross, why don't we formally end the meeting, stop the recording. I will stay on.